The world of Disney has changed a lot in the past 10 years. Not only has the company acquired Star Wars, Marvel, and the Muppets, but they purchased their longtime producing partners Pixar and have welcomed them into the fold. Pixar is a behemoth in the animation world. Their films are consistently making bank at the box office, scooping up Academy Awards and providing families with hours of entertainment. At first glance, films like Monsters, Inc. and The Incredibles couldn't be further apart from each other. But what if the whole world of Pixar was connected? Yeah, we're talking about the famed Pixar Theory again. Developed in 2013, the theory includes every single Pixar movie and has been adapted to include newer releases like The Good Dinosaur and Inside Out. But how real is the theory? Are the connections plausible? Or is this just a group of diehard Pixar fans grasping at straws? Let's dive in, break things down, and determine if the Pixar Theory is something that could be real, or merely a fun fanfiction with too many plot holes to be plausible. Before we jump down the Pixar rabbit hole, click subscribe and stay up to date with all of the latest ScreenRant content. The 1990s was a game changer for Disney. After some darker films like The Black Cauldron and The Great Mouse Detective, the animation company decided to go back to their roots in the form of an animated musical. 1989's Little Mermaid was a smash hit and followed up with animated classics like Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin, and The Lion King. But these landmark movies weren't even Disney's most important releases of the 90s. This would be 1995's Toy Story. As part of a distribution deal, the world of animation changed forever when Disney teamed up with the then small animation company Pixar to release the first ever fully CG animated movie. CG rendered movies are a dime a dozen today, but Toy Story marked a true beginning and dramatic change for animation. Not only was Pixar building a brand, but their distinct animation style and storytelling would lay the groundwork for films in the future. Pixar set itself apart from Disney in many ways. Their film formulas had two basic rules: no musicals and avoiding the traditional protagonist as much as possible, with The Incredibles being one of the big exceptions to that rule. And thus a new force in animation was born. In the years that followed Toy Story, we got to enjoy A Bug's Life, Toy Story 2, The Incredibles, Monsters, Inc., Cars, and Finding Nemo, among others. At first glance, the only seeming connection between these movies is voice actor John Ratzenberger, who appears in every Pixar film. But the publication of the Pixar Theory changed everything in 2013 and made you look at Pixar movies in a whole different light. So what exactly is the Pixar Theory? It's far more than just some clever Easter eggs and the appearance of the Pizza Planet truck. Time travel, alternate futures, and the rise of the machines have been connected to showcase a living and breathing Pixar world, where each movie falls neatly on the timeline and connects to each other through both the power and destruction of humans and Mother Nature. Author John Negroni released his full-length breakdown of Pixar movies in 2013, with a thesis simply titled The Pixar Theory. The post quickly gained steam online, was shared by others, disputed by some, and backed up with even more evidence by both Negroni and other Pixar fans. The basic summary of the theory involves an interconnected world where each film falls on a certain place within the Pixar timeline, and actions in one movie directs impacts another. The key to the theory lies in two films, Brave and Monsters, Inc. Forgetting about The Good Dinosaur for a moment, the theory's first timeline began with Brave, the 2012 fantasy film. Set in the Middle Ages, the film features a number of fantastical elements, including the strange witch Merida goes to visit in the woods. The witch is key in the Pixar Theory, forming the time loop that helps connect all of the films. As far-fetched as it sounds, the witch in Brave is actually Boo from Monsters, Inc. But how could this be true? Well, let's step into the world of Monsters, Inc. for a moment. In that movie, monsters travel through wooden closet doors and are transported to a child's room. The doors themselves don't just bring the monsters into an alternate Earth or multiverse, they actually travel through time according to the theory. So after Boo's adventures in Monsters, Inc., she makes use of the doors, and using them to travel in time in search of Sully. Her search and adventures go well into old age, until she eventually finds her way back to the Middle Ages. The biggest piece of proof from this comes in the form of the witch's wood carvings. Look closely in her small hut, and you can actually spot a carving of Sully from Monsters, Inc. With Boo's ability to time travel, she eventually learned the arts of magic and has harnessed the power of the time-traveling doors like no one else before. Another quick moment in Brave showcases the witch leaving the hut, shutting the door and opening it again to reveal a whole different room on the inside. Another clue to the witch's actually being a time-traveling Boo? Another one of her carvings depicts the Pizza Planet truck, a vehicle that would never have existed back in the Middle Ages. With the groundwork laid for Boo's time-traveling escapades and the introduction of magic to the world, we can now piece together the rest of the Pixar theory and the timeline it follows. While we take a lot of Pixar films at face value for their times and place in society, the release of WALL-E in 2008 completely changed things. Set in 2805, the film depicts an Earth that has been polluted so bad it was abandoned by humans and left to AI droids like WALL-E to clean things up. So what happens after WALL-E ends and human life tries to return to the planet? Well, this is where Monsters University and Monsters Inc. cap off the end of the timeline, effectively making the loop with Brave. According to the theory, Monsters Inc. takes place years and years after WALL-E, when the humans returned and tried to rebuild their Earth. Things went a little strange with the DNA. Through pollution, nuclear waste exposure, magical fruit trees, and too much time in outer space, humans evolve into these monsters, with mutant DNA and capabilities far different than the natural human form. Are you still with us? Good. To help get energy for the newly rebuilt Earth, the time-traveling door technology is developed, and monsters travel back in time to get some scares, and eventually harness the power of laughs. One of the monsters who ended up bringing a lot of laughs? Bing Bong! That's right, Riley's imaginary friend from Inside Out was far from imaginary, and actually a lingering memory from her childhood. As a young child, Bing Bong traveled through time and stepped foot through Riley's door, making an impact on her for several years and becoming a part of her inner imaginary voice. And even before WALL-E, between the time when humans abandoned Earth and WALL-E came to clean it up, we saw AI rise in the form of the Cars trilogy. In the Pixar movies, there are no humans, but advanced form of vehicles roaming the Earth and using up the rest of the resources humans left behind. Without the need to breathe like humans, the vehicles in Cars could survive on their own and use the human traits they had programmed and learned over the years. The catalyst to the destruction of humans and inability of Earth? The Faceless megacorp by and large. The company is featured on many products in Pixar lore and is theorized to the downfall of humans on Earth. Eventually, the expansion of by and large and shortage of oil resources became too much, leading to the Cars' extinction and arrival of WALL-E. So we have the time traveling and the introduction of magic. And now it's time to get to some more modern times. Starting first with The Incredibles. In the films, we get some vague details about government experiments with our heroes. But the true way for these heroes to showcase superhuman abilities is with the power of magic and human manipulation. Much like how wisps were used to transform Merida's mother into a bear in Brave, the same type of wisp magic infused with the DNA of the Incredibles to give them powers to stretch, fly, and run at super speeds. The Incredibles fits into the Pixar theory for more than just the use of magic and superpowers. A lot of the theory connects to the film's main villain, Syndrome. Syndrome creates an advanced AI, using technology which will eventually form into the technology used to create WALL-E, Eve, and the ultimate AI leader, Otto. Part of Syndrome's evil plan also includes the use of zero-point energy. And with this energy, we have our connection to the Toy Story trilogy. The Toy Story movies feature toys that come to life, are heavily connected to human emotions, and have plenty of emotions all their own. The wavelengths of the zero-point energy eventually reach these toys, giving them life, thoughts, and the ability to interact with each other. This can explain why Woody has no memories of his past. The zero-point energy has not quite reached him until he was owned by Andy. The Toy Story films also feature a number of references to other Pixar movies. In Toy Story 3, Andy has a postcard from Up's Carl and Ellie. The same magic and energy from these other Pixar films ties into the highly intelligent life featured in Finding Nemo and Finding Dory. The fish in these movies are no ordinary sea creatures. Not only do they have the full range of emotions, but the ability to plot and plan their escape from a fish tank, or an aquarium as seen in Finding Dory. Even random movies like A Bug's Life find their way into the Pixar theory. A Bug's Life features no humans in it. And why? Yeah, you guessed it. The whole thing takes place in the distant future at a time after WALL-E discovered a plant and life is slowly starting to take over. These bugs are highly intelligent, have access to advanced technology, and feature 4 limbs instead of an ant's typical 6. All of these signs point to the ants as being from the future, likely living among those magical fruit trees humans devoured to transform into monsters. Phew, that was a lot to take in. You're reliving movies in your mind, and even finding connections between the zero-point energy and the human-like tendencies of the rats in Ratatouille. But what if it's all a big lie? What if the Pixar theory has no real merit, is loosely connected, and filled with more plot holes than the true origins of Andy's father? Well, even though we can bring you a whole lot of evidence to prove the Pixar theory, the evidence would require you to pretty ignore everything going against the theory. Our first example, The Good Dinosaur, a movie that is actually pretty bad when it comes to fitting into the Pixar theory. Once The Good Dinosaur was released, the Pixar theory followers scrambled to try and connect the movie, placing it on the timeline before Brave and adding details about magic and dinosaur intelligence. The major problem here, The Good Dinosaur takes place on a completely different timeline, an alternate timeline. Time for a quick history lesson. Don't worry, we won't bore you. So, according to historians, the asteroid that caused dinosaurs to go extinct hit Earth around 66 million years ago. The whole premise of The Good Dinosaur explores the idea if the asteroid missed Earth and dinosaurs continued to live. The film doesn't take place at that time. It actually flashes forward to today, or as the movie states, 65 million years in the future. This means The Good Dinosaur takes place on a whole different Earth, basically crashing an asteroid right into the Pixar theory. No matter how they try to swerve things or place it, the alternate reality of The Good Dinosaur makes it impossible to include in the Pixar theory. Okay, so let's forget The Good Dinosaur. Arguably one of Pixar's weakest entries anyway. The theory was created before the movie came out, so everything still fits without The Good Dinosaur, right? Well, not quite. Let's look at Up, for example. In the theory, Up's connection has a lot to do with Charles Muntz and his talking dog technology. Charles supposedly learned about the intelligent cooking rats and was inspired to make the talking dog collars. The biggest issue? Muntz was lost in the forest since the 1930s, meaning he would have no way of knowing about the rats when he developed the technology. And we can nitpick all day about each movie, various references, and how they fit on the timeline, but first, let's go back to the origins. The connection with Boo and the Witch. Supposedly, Boo began her time travels on a quest to find Sully, but Sully and Boo's connection was never lost. At the end of Monsters, Inc., Boo's door was completely destroyed, but Mike puts it back together for Sully. Sully enters the door, calls out to Boo, and she answers him right away. It's only safe to assume Boo and Sully continued their relationship together, meaning Boo's search through time wouldn't have been needed. In 2009, a comic book sequel was published, even showing Boo return to the monster's world. We're pretty sure the comic book is more canon than the Pixar theory. And the whole time travel thing has a lot of plot holes as well. If the monsters travel back in time to scare kids, then how could children become desensitized to the scares and have their doors destroyed? With a time machine, you could literally go to any date or time. Case in point, little Jimmy Johnson could be scared on the same August 30th night in 1995. Over and over again. There'd be no reason to go night after night if you could just go back and scare him again. And if the monsters were humans who changed and mutated, then why wouldn't they go back in time to warn their past selves or others about the mutations? There's only one clear reason. The monsters are not living in the future or traveling through time. The doors they travel through are all in real time. This is just another reason why the monster shifts do not begin until the children are asleep in bed. The catalyst for the whole theory and Boo's connection doesn't fit with the ideas represented right in the first movie. You'd literally have to ignore basic details to have things make sense. The futuristic setting of films like Cars and WALL-E also point to a machine takeover of the humans, involving advanced AI from Syndrome and companies like By and Large. While the AI may be advanced in these movies, a large part of the humans leaving Earth for the Axiom ship was due to pollution. And humans were never banished from Earth like the Pixar theory states. The Axiom spaceship featured in WALL-E was supposed to be a temporary home until life could start again on Earth. If humans were trying to escape the machines, they wouldn't rely on tools like Eve or WALL-E to do their work anymore. And according to the theory, the AI Syndrome created to attack the Incredibles forms a mind of its own and attempts to overpower the humans. Only this isn't true. The Omnidroid only attacks Syndrome because Syndrome foolishly programmed the machine to do so. The Omnidroid learned from every battle it was involved in, and it determined the remote wrist control Syndrome was wearing was a threat, and this is the main reason the droid took him out. It wasn't the start of some type of machine rising. Plus, after the first Incredibles, the technology was destroyed anyway, and in no way connected connected to the robots or advanced technology featured in WALL-E. And the cars living in a world abandoned by the humans. Well, there is still plenty of living life, even birds flying around in a few scenes. It's pretty safe to say that unless humans panicked way too early, there wouldn't have been a justifiable reason for the humans to leave society behind. Basically, Cars is just set in a world where vehicles are given personification, not some weird, distant future where vehicles have taken on human personalities after humans abandoned Earth. Not only are there plenty of loopholes within the films themselves, but you can go straight to the source to determine if there is any legitimacy over the Pixar theory. Once the theory picked up steam back in 2013, several Pixar writers and executives have received questions about it. Jay Ward, a Pixar producer and expert in the Cars trilogy of films, has completely debunked the theory. Basically, someone presenting semi-interesting connections without showing the whole picture, and getting a person's interest using sensationalism. Ward is heavily involved in the production world of Pixar, and downright involved any interconnection between these films. Brave is one of the key movies involved in the theory, and director Mark Andrews debunked any connections as well. Many Pixar executives have gone on record denying the theory, and unless there's some huge hidden secret, there's no reason to doubt their denial. You don't even have to hear it from their mouths. Just understanding a little bit about their production schedule can help give you a better understanding of how this theory would be hard to lay out. Pixar may only release one movie a year. On rare occasions, they'll do two, but at any given moment, there are a handful of films in various stages of production. Pixar is very story-oriented, focusing on character details, plots, and the authenticity of their stories. The producers and animators of the movie Coco spent months visiting Mexico and ensuring their representation felt real and accurate. They didn't have time to base their movie and story beats around the Pixar theory. Not only that, but several films go through dramatic changes, and even change the whole story before production begins. For example, The Good Dinosaur was near completion when Pixar wasn't happy with the results, scrapped a majority of the project, and reworked everything. The upcoming Toy Story 4 went through several writer changes before finding a story that worked and could help move the franchise forward. These changes are all focused on a single movie. It would take way too much planning and organization to really pull off the connected theory and make it all work. The world of internet has also made the Pixar theory seem more legit than it is. People read quick headlines or paragraph-long articles and just fill in the blanks, assuming everything is true. If you actually watched a Pixar marathon and broke down the theory for it was, there really isn't that strong of a case to it. The theory was fun at first, but the more Pixar releases movies, the more everything falls apart. And then there's people mixing up movies into the theory. Frozen and Tangled aren't even Pixar films. They're part of the separate Walt Disney Animation Studios. But people often lump in the connection between Elsa and Rapunzel into the theory because of the famed cameo where Rapunzel appears in Frozen for a few moments. Then there's films like Zootopia or Ralph Breaks the Internet. Both are filled with Easter eggs and Disney references, but once again, they're not Pixar films. People with little knowledge to Pixar or other animation companies may even try to throw Shrek into the mix. Little moments like these spread around, turn into memes, and next thing you know, the Pixar theory is an out-of-control Disney beast. No pun intended. Sorry, beast. False knowledge is spread, and people forget what the core of the Pixar theory even was. So how does the theory fit with so many elements, and these movies have so many connections? Well, you can blame the Easter egg. Easter eggs are often used in films, and especially in animated movies. They are just quick, fun little references and hidden moments in movies. Take the Pizza Planet truck, for example. The truck literally appears in every single Pixar movie as an homage to the original Toy Story. And that's all it is. And it is very similar to hidden Mickey Mouse images appearing a wide majority of Disney films. It doesn't mean there's some crazy Mickey conspiracy, and if there is, well, that's for a whole other documentary to sort out. The Pizza Planet truck is not some time-traveling space guy delivering pizzas from literal planet to planet. The truck doesn't represent a secret Pixar society who worship Pizza Planet. It is a fun gag, and people assume because they are hidden references, they should mean more. In reality, they don't need to have deeper meaning. In an internet culture obsessed with clues, theories, and hidden details, this is not the case for a majority of Pixar movies. In the case of fictional companies like By and Large, why would Pixar want to create a bunch of different fictional companies when they could use the same ones over and over again? The By and Large logos and graphics are created, saving animators time and allowing for a fun connection between films. Got a digital model of the Jessie doll? Well, just stick it right there in Boo's room to help fill up the space and give viewers some recognizable to spot. Sure, there will still be believers out there. The Pixar theory will carry on, no matter how people debunk it, break it down, or offer evidence to go against it. But what's the future for theory? Well, as long as Pixar keeps releasing movies, the theory will only get harder and harder to prove. The theory may eventually evolve into the Pixar early years theory, or the Pixar first 15 movies theory. Eventually, there will be a film that doesn't into the theory, much like The Good Dinosaur, and the story can only be dragged out for so long. Just look at Toy Story 4. We've only seen little details about the movie so far, but some of the story could take away from the theory presented for the first 3 movies. And we can't wait to see how the theory ties into Forky, the new character who debuted in the Toy Story 4 teaser trailer. Pixar also has another movie in the pipeline, which follows 2 brothers and is set in a suburban fantasy world. Little details have been given out, but the film would have to take place either just before Monsters, Inc. or just after. Either way, the suburban fantasy world will probably be so unique it couldn't possibly tie into Monsters, Inc. or the Pixar theory in general. It's always fun to hear a good urban legend or tall tale, but they are the genre they represent, just stories. Or in the case of the Pixar theory, just fan fiction. So the next time you watch a Pixar movie, enjoy it for what it is. A movie in a bottle, set in its own cinematic universe with great characters and some fun Easter eggs that mean nothing at all. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Are Easter eggs too overanalyzed? Has the theory been debunked? Do you still believe? There you have it. Is there anything we missed? What's your favorite Pixar movie? Let us know in the comment section below. Don't forget to like this video, share it, and subscribe to ScreenRant on YouTube so you can stay up to date with our awesome videos. Thanks for watching.